Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So last week in the mod collection demo shop recap videos, I told you I bought one, but I didn't tell you what it was. Even if you watched all the way to the end of the video, all you heard was me sneeze. I didn't tell you exactly what it was. So this is the guitar that I purchased. But before we really dig into this, December is so much fun. If you buy a guitar direct from Gibson, check your packing list thing. If it feels kind of bulky, it's because it's Christmas time and they give you these little ornaments. I hate to say it, I'm actually a little bit more excited about this ornament than the guitar. So this year for 2021, they're doing truss rods. So essentially, they have leftover mahogany. They just shape them into these little ornaments and they give them to, if you buy a guitar from them. Which it used to be very expensive to buy a guitar from Gibson before the demo shop and stuff came out. But I will add this to my collection. Last year, it was the whole darn headstock. This year, a little bit more bold in print. My collection grows. But anyways, mod collection demo shop, if you're not familiar, that is Gibson's refurbishing department, essentially, where if a guitar gets sent back or it's not up to first quality standards, they send it down to the shop. Sometimes they give it new life with a custom finish, modify some parts. Other times they're just like, yeah, we'll just sell it as is. I have a sneaking suspicion this is where they bring all the new hires that want to build the guitars and stuff just to get their, hands wet on the whole operating on guitars thing. That's just my theory. I don't know if that's true. Maybe some guys just love living in the demo shop. But inside here is a really cool finished ES-335. Wow. Gotta say, that looks a lot more stunning in person than it did in the demo shop photos. They called this one Satin, Arterial Burst. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I've been kind of an emotional buyer lately. Like anything that has to do with my childhood or teenage years, if there's some reference to that, I'm kind of into getting back into that now. Like, for example, I've never bought a brand new gaming system in a long time, but I just bought a Switch to play Shining Diamond because that was one of the last Pokemon games that I did play. But this one, Arterial Burst, it's like one of those That's So Raven type moments. But instead of seeing the future, I'm seeing a flashback to Guitar Hero 2. Arterial Black was a song on that. Now, arterial just means of the arteries. So going into Dr. Trogly here, an artery delivers oxygen-rich blood from your heart to all the different tissues of the body. There's some pretty major arteries within your body. They're pretty important to you, right? So when you think artery burst finish, it's like, ugh, that's kind of yucky. I don't really like blood and gore and stuff like that. But due to that song, Arterial Black, it's a really nice song. I remember enjoying it. It's kind of like a mellow but heavy and dark song. It's got a really unique guitar solo to it that's very memorable. You do not expect that from that song. So that is something I would suggest that you guys check out after this video. I'm going to try to pay some tribute to that because that is the sole reason why I bought this, besides the stinger. Because when I was putting two and two together with that, I was looking for an it factor, and the black stinger here is definitely an it factor. It feels way better than that purple Les Paul custom one too. You can still definitely feel it, but since it's not a satin into a gloss, it's more of a satin to satin, it's not quite as a striking appearance, and it's not quite as long as that last one. But man, first impressions of this puppy, I love it. I don't know, I might have to keep this. This is a very cool one. I think they undersold it at $2,400 because a normal gloss ES-335 is $3,299. A satin one within the modern collection is $2,799. So getting this thing at a discount with a custom finish and a stinger, I think they personally should have targeted $3,500. This is worth every penny to that to me. So this might have been one of those low-hanging fruits that they were expecting somebody to get a great deal. Like, I remember those photos trying to make the finish look crappy on the top horn. I don't even know if I'd be able to replicate that. It looks pretty good. So I think they were a little bit hypercritical on this one, which the demo shop occasionally is. Now, unfortunately, they did not continue the bursts on the sides, which is a bit of a letdown, but at least you have it on the top and back, and normally I'm all about the teardrop shape. But I guess this kind of reminds me of the Casino series that Gibson did, I think in the late 2000s. They have one that looks kind of similar to this. Even the satin finish on this is quite nice. Like that Pinstripe Hot Rod ES Les Paul custom. I didn't really like the finish on that one, but this, it's nice. I mean, it's satin, but it's more like a a higher quality satin than that last one, in my opinion. But that matches well with that dark rosewood fretboard. I've got to say, this is probably the happiest I've been with a Mod Collection demo shop guitar in quite some time. So, whoever was responsible for Arterial Burst, fantastic job. This gets my seal of approval. Start naming more things after Guitar Hero songs. I'll buy every single one. Let's see, what did we get? Regular case. This feels like the Costa Rican one to me. It's a little bit heavier. You got those square style latches. Your typical warranty pamphlet in here where they fill out what was wrong with the guitar, etc. that you can see there. Like, they rated this one 3.8, which is fair to them. That'll be fun. We'll do that on this one. I'll actually go through each of these points on the workbench and try to show it what they were showing, but I think they were a little bit too critical on this guy. And other than that, we get a COA, which is not something you would normally get on this level of a guitar. It just says it came from the demo shop. You get a couple of picks in there, which I always keep those because I actually like them. The only bad thing about these is they only last about 2 demos for me because I'm kind of a heavy picker and they get white dust all over, but I do enjoy them. But oh no, white switch tip. It looks like they even got some black paint in it or something. I'm sorry guys, that one needs a black switch tip. Then we get all the other stuff, so strap, multi-tool, paperwork, all that good stuff. But anyways, to learn more about Arterial Burst, let's go ahead and throw this thing on the workbench to take an individual look at its parts and specs. Uh-oh, there's a heart-wrenching mistake on the Arterial Burst. Okay, so I was kind of excited because this had pickups that weren't the stock ones. 335s nowadays, even the Satin ones, come with something called a T-type pickup. And they look like this. They say this, rhythm calibrated T-type. That's in the neck and the bridge, lead calibrated T-type. But that's not what this guitar was supposed to have. Here's the listing for it. And in here, they said they had upgraded it to Burstbucker 61R 61T pickups. So I'm going to test Gibson on that, see if they'll actually send me those. Because the Berries and Cream, you can check that out here, they had said it was a P100. Now, they ended up sending me that P100, but that was the Mod Collection. This is a demo shop guitar, so I'll have to see if they'll do that. So that's kind of a bummer, but at the same time, now you can use this as just a review for a regular Satin one. But inside here we have a marking of WC on our mahogany neck tenon. Then it goes into the body. It almost looks like it says ES-33500. I'm sure that's just like a sloppy 3 for a 335, or they accidentally did 355, because that's not a 355 unless they changed the headstock. It's either that or their code is different. Maybe it's 35 for 335 and then S for Satin. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to tell. 5 and S's look very similar. However, I'm kind of confident that this started life actually as a gloss version due to the gloss finish on the headstock that makes it shine. I'm not sure if the Satin ones have that. I would imagine their headstock is still Satin. But inside our bridge pickup cavity, everything's looking the way I would expect to see. This is actually one of the cleaner looking insides of a 335. Now let's break out the endoscope just for fun. Alright, so diving in here, we can take a up-close look how these things are created. So it's a maple poplar maple sandwich on the top, back, and sides that they then join to the spruce bracing, which you're seeing here along the edge. That's what this stuff is right here. And then 335s have a maple center block, which you can see gets routed away right here. Then you can see down to the spruce bracing right here on the underside of the guitar. That's how they get the belly carves here. But into the belly of the beast, let's go ahead and look at our cutaway area. You can see they've got what they call kerfing along the edges here. It looks to be like made out of mahogany or something. That just kind of joins the top, back, and sides together there. Makes it a little bit more secure. Now we'll head on over more to our electronics right under the F-hole right here. This is what particularly stinks about them saying they upgraded the pickups to something else. Because even if they do send them to me, I'm not going to be able to install them because it's so much work to do that on a 335. You have to fish everything through here and then get it all secured into these areas. I'm sure the T-type pickups will be just fine in here. It's just more so the principle of the matter that I wanted to, get the right pickups. Now just for fun, let's go inside the other F-hole. What we're seeing right here is the maple center block, and that underneath it, that spruce that we were seeing in the pickup cavities. And then that goes all the way down to the edge of the guitar. That's where the strap button gets sunk into it. And again, you can see the bracing on the top and the bottom. And as far as the cutaway, pretty much just more of the same stuff. Thank you for spelunking with me. Back to the other camera. Now that we understand the insides, let's check out our pickup readings. 7.47 k ohms in our bridge, neck position 7.15. Middle position, just for fun, we've got 3.65. As far as the bridge, we have the Gibson USA Faux BR1, as I like to call them. So it's an actual ABR1 bridge, non-wire on this example. It says Gibson ABR1 on the back. But it's mounted the same way as a Nashville style, so you have studs in the body instead of just the singular post. But what's nice about this is you actually have Allen key adjustments right there, so you don't even have to use the thumb wheels when it's under tension. And our tailpiece is an ultra lightweight aluminum one by Advanced Plating. As far as the controls, nothing too fancy here. 2 independent volumes for each pickup, 2 tones, 3-way toggle switch, output jack on the front, and you get a fancy pick guard here. It is multiply in black. We'll go over that checklist in a minute, but I don't want to nitpick this thing, because when you start looking at it, yeah, you do see some blemishes, and we'll do that and cross-check it with the sheet. But what I read in the description versus what actually showed up, I'm way happier than I was expecting I would be. Like, this even has a slight flame top to it, nothing extreme or extravagant, but it is there, and it actually looks really nice in my opinion. But moving on from the maple poplar maple body, let's go ahead and check out the mahogany neck and the rosewood fretboard. 22 medium jumbo frets, 24 3/4 inch scale length. You've got the 12-inch fretboard radius, nothing too crazy going on here. Acrylic dot inlays. I think the last 335 video I did, somebody said, has to be blocks for me. Dots are cheap. When it comes to 335s, these are one of those weird guitars where collectors prefer the dots because that's how they initially were. It's just one of those things. Now I do notice, this is probably what made this guitar end up in the seconds pile, is there's some areas on the fretboard, they're not completely flush. Like, this looks way worse than it actually is. Sometimes you'll just find that on fretboards, but you can see some areas of that in really wide wood grain. It wouldn't surprise me if that's what landed this in the demo shop, but man, is it beautiful now. If you want a guitar like this, outside of that Vegas one I was just telling you about not too long ago, check out the Billy Joe Armstrong signature guitar, ES-137. That's done up in a similar finish, but this looks great on the 335 body style. Let's go ahead and grab our neck dimensions. We got 1.68 inches at the nut, 2.08 by the 12th. First fret neck depth, 0.91. And 0.1 by the 12th. The dimensions make this neck seem pretty big. It's nice and rounded, but I wouldn't call it like necessarily like 50s baseball bat, but definitely kind of 50s rounded. Here's that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret. Definitely looks like a nice wide C-shaped neck. As far as the face of the headstock goes, again, it's a gloss finish, so that looks really good. I'm happy they left the headstock gloss. I love satin finishes on the body, on the neck, things like that, but for me, and Fender does this a lot, they'll do everything satin but leave the headstock in gloss so it's all beautiful, because there's no reason not to gloss the headstock. So great move, whoever did that. Truss rod looks good, cover's just your standard style one, and you've got the crown and Gibson logo done up in mother of pearl. But now moving on to the backside, no control plates, so once again, pickup changes will be very difficult in a guitar like this, but it's a satin finish burst job back here as well. You know, my goodness, I see it. So I remember seeing this in the photos, thinking, oh, that's really ugly. I thought it was on the front horn right there. I didn't realize that was on the back. Yeah, who cares about small details like that on the back? I just really wish they would have bursted the sides. That's the only thing this thing is missing. And maybe something like a small stinger on the back of the neck like we saw in that purple custom review. Except for this time, this neck, it's not a satin finish like this. Like, listen to this. Now listen to the neck. This is a semi-gloss, so it's not quite a full gloss yet. It's still within the satin family, technically, but it's different. So that's a great feeling, and this stinger, you can't feel it. I mean, if you rub your nail along it, yes, you can, but it's nowhere near like that purple lilac custom. So this is a good blending, a good example of finishes matching together, even though they've got the cool black stinger here. That's just such a great look. Very vampire-esque with the black and the red. But it's stamped mod right here. It's got a Made in USA stamp, and then this is a 2021 model, 113th day of the year. Initial batch, 218th guitar, stamped that particular day. And the last spec to capture here is the weight, 7 pounds, 10.6 ounces. But before we go to that playing demo, let's do our checklist. The first thing on their scale is the serial number label. It says made in USA stamps difficult to distinguish. I'd agree with that. It did get a little bit covered over with the black lacquer. Finished top surface has small dings near binding and neck joint of base side. Missing color on edges of both F-holes. Well, that color looks okay. That looks okay too, so I'm not quite sure what that's about. Okay, maybe right there. That's something they were looking for. Surely they could have just took a black marker pen and did that. I honestly don't see what they're talking about unless they fix that later on. I see the black paint. And I think the dings they're talking about are these tiny ones. Maybe a bit of finish bleed right there. And it talks about specks of debris. I guess maybe they're talking about that, but that just kind of looked like wood grain to me. Then it looks like they were talking about some specks of something under the finish along the front. I didn't understand that one. Like, I thought we were going to see some really ugly, nasty stuff up here. But I don't see what they were talking about there. But I can't see things like the rough binding that they were talking about. I'm sure there's a few specks of finish in other locations. But on the neck, they're saying there's a small ding on the base side 12th fret. I seriously think they're talking about that. That's not even something I would have ever have seen, but okay, yeah, it's there. Inconsistent color with treble side of headstock. Okay, it's all black. Now let's go to the treble side. Okay, I can kind of see how the red is still showing through, so they must have just covered over the red finish with the black. Okay. That's kind of cool though. It's like a peekaboo stinger, you know, like flame figuring. It just changes colors like that. I would actually prefer if the whole stinger was like that. The only thing I feel that should have been described that wasn't is there's like a small ding out of the black at the top right here where the red still shows through. Not that big of a deal in the long run of things though. I mean, really the worst thing on this whole guitar is on the back, and it's right there as we were looking at earlier. So they definitely nitpick these things. For this to be listed as fair, this is what most people list as brand new mint condition on Reverb. So this definitely paid off. I'm very happy with what was delivered, and except for the pickup situation. I still think they need to work on making sure that they get the right stuff that's described. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how this beast sounds. Looking at it in the camera just now, I guess you could also go for /Vermilion burst. That would be a very similar Les Paul finish. I don't know, something about the perimeter burst on this one, it actually works. But anyways, this has to be one of the nicest 335s I've ever had. I mean, just from first strum electrified, I knew this had something special. I mean, even unelectrified, it's got quite a projection to it. Let's go ahead and dive into some of these tones. Actually was my volumes rolled down with some dirt on it. Now this is just straight up cleans. This guitar is a lot of fun is the tone is actually really close to Arterial Black, so I'm very, very pleased with that. Let's go ahead and give that my best college try here. This guitar is it's got a super controllable feedback. The notes blossom off of it. Now that we know all about this ES-335 in a Satin Arterial burst, what are my final thoughts on this thing? Absolutely blown away with how fantastic this guitar is. Like, I've had 335s before, and I've had some pretty darn good ones too. But this thing, like, this is just a fantastic guitar. Like, it even trumps some Les Pauls. Like, when you talk about 335 killers of Les Pauls, I think they're talking about this. Is there something to the satin finish? Well, you guys have to remember the mid-2000s faded standards. There's cult followings of those because they love the way the satin finish feels and the way it lets the guitar breathe, as they say. But there's something to this. I am so glad I bought this guitar to give it a shot because I just thought, yeah, kind of a cool finish. Oh, sweet, there's a stinger on the back. I wasn't expecting to fall in love with the guitar itself. I mean, I buy, review, document guitars, sell them off all the time, but this thing, the colors, they're so beautiful to me. It's going to be hard to say goodbye to this one if I do decide to sell it. Let's just say I'm not going to be selling this for anywhere near what I paid because it's just fantastic. I do not want to sell this thing. Whoever gets this, if you can strong arm it off me, play the crap out of it. It's got great tones, not only for dirty, but also for clean, and then that semi-dirt. Just roll down your volumes. It's got good stuff going on there. I love the feel of the semi-gloss on the back. It's not full-on satin, because this is going to stay consistent. That's the problem with satin finishes. When you start to gig them and play them a lot, they kind of buff up into that same semi-gloss, and then you get uneven spots on the neck. With this starting as the semi-gloss, you're not going to have to worry about that. Now, you will have have to worry about the cosmetics on the front, but honestly, I could care less. This is just such a fantastic guitar. So, demo shop guy, who is in charge of this, give yourself a pat on the back. This is a fantastic guitar, and if nothing else, check out a 335 Satin. Save yourself some money, and you might find yourself an even better playing guitar. Oh, and I thought of one more suggestion if you love this finish, but you can't get this one or a similar guitar. Look up Dark Wine Burst from the early 90s. This has very similar vibes to that. There was an Herb Ellis guitar that I had unfortunately missed at one point in time. You can find them in a very similar finish. So there are other guitars out there that look like this, but within the Gibson realm, it's gonna take a while to find something else like this. All right, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at this guitar with me today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care. As always, if you're interested in being the next owner of one of these demo guitars, you can check them out on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. There's some links in the description.